Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys. So they decided to pop it a little bit today, and SPY and QQ are at these interesting spots where it's pretty simple from here, guys. We're going to break above these key levels and start gunning it for all-time highs, or they're going to start pulling you back in. Well, pretty much they're going to keep you range bound here around the short-term moving averages. The weekly update, we talked about them pulling you back into the daily 21 over here now that they got back above it. They didn't quite get back down there, but you had the same idea happen over here where you pull back into the short-term moving averages, and then they just test it from above, and then they pop you back up. You didn't end up selling as much as I was expecting here into the start of the week here. But now it's Tuesday, guys, and we're right here against the 0.786 Fibonacci retracement, right here around 625. That's this key level over here as well. If we get above 625, they're probably going to start bringing it up to all-time highs, and I think we either go like this, almost tag all-time highs, but pull back slightly around there, retest this area that we're consolidating right now. We just retest it from above, and we probably see buyers step back in and defend that, and then we get the new all-time highs. Or I think we're probably just going to go back up to all-time highs. Those are the two scenarios I'm seeing that are likely from here, if you can break over 625. If you don't do that, I'm just expecting that you stay in this consolidation, then yeah, by end of week, really, I'm expecting them to break you over 625. That's really it. That is really it. I'm going to point out some ideas in this video, but I'm just going to say at the very beginning that SPY and QQ, you're either going to continue consolidating right where we are, or they're going to break you above some key spots here on QQ and SPY here, okay? 685 on SPY, and then they pop you up to all-time highs. SPY is probably going to reach all-time highs sooner than QQQ, but you could see over here, guys, it's a little baby weekly candlestick. It's only Tuesday here. We got 3 more sessions in the week. All they got to do is pop you above this high over here at 685, and this is likely just going to expand its way up to all-time highs. It doesn't have to move all that much here. It has to move about 1% to the upside, and you're at new all-time highs. I don't doubt that they're going to do it. It's consolidating in a bullish manner. I'm thinking that's the probable scenario is they just bring SPY up to all-time highs this week, and that's that. I don't know if they pull you back from there. But yeah, guys, at that point, we will have successfully gotten the move from the weekly 21 down here right back to all-time highs. And if they do it this week, then it only took 2 weeks for them to bring it back up. Pretty crazy stuff there after all the fear that was pumped into the market over the past, month or so before we had this rally. Very funny stuff. Very funny stuff. Okay. But let's just go over the levels over here on SPY and QQQ, and then we'll go over the Magnificent 7 stocks. I'll go over the VIX real quick as well. On the upside here on QQQ, you have 625. It's 624.86, but 0.786 happens to be right there at 625. So we're just going to say break above 625. You have the 630 psych level, and then you have 637.01 current all-time high. On the downside, you have 619.32, 617.59, and then underneath there, we're just going to be watching 612.52 over here. If they do end up doing that, I have a feeling they would just wick it into this and you get bought the same day. That's personal expectations there. But, like I was pointing out there on SPY, the 4-hour does not look bad at all. Okay, same thing over here on QQ. You just, SPY, you're still just in this consolidation. QQ started breaking above it. All right, you had a battle going on today, and that's what we should be expecting here in the golden pocket. You see how they're just kind of pushing straight up into it, and this is where you start struggling, okay, between 0.618 and the 0.786 from this whole most recent move down, okay? That's QQQ. Coming over here to SPY. Same look on the weekly here. Very easily can get up to all-time highs this week if they want to just send it about 1% from current price. 1.2%, we're at new all-time highs. That's as simple as it has to be. But here's as simple as you're going to make it here. You break above 685, look for 690, and then we're probably going straight to $700. Break above yesterday's low at 678.74, and you're watching 675. That's pretty much it. That's as complicated as it has to be. You're watching to break out from this range. You got a 3-day range going on here. Likely going to be breaking one direction or the other. probably tomorrow. But there's a chance they just keep you in this consolidation here, and they break you up or break you down into end of week. I have a feeling they're not going to be breaking you down. I don't think they're going to print what we got last week and close you out with an inside week this week. I think they're likely going to bring it over here and take you over 685. Maybe they do bring you back down, but we're just going to expect that dip to be bought, you know, a little pit stop back to 670. That's about it, right over here at the weekly 9. But you've already reclaimed the key moving averages that you had to. We're expecting those dips to be bought from this point. That's it. Okay. VIX over here looks like it wants to come down to a low. People say you can't do TA and VIX. I say I have been doing TA on VIX for years here, and yeah, people can call me an idiot and say I'm stupid for it, but you know, I've been accurately timing market bottoms for quite some time now, strictly using my TA on the VIX, and that's about it. Okay. I also happen to a lot of time get the insight over here from VIX that we're probably going to be starting to see volatility pick up sometimes. All right. I see the bounces before they happen. And I definitely, when we're getting these spikes, you can quite literally time market bottoms with the help of VIX over here. Okay. You obviously got to watch multiple things, but VIX works into our equation. And I showcase that consistently here on this channel. If you're not new to the channel, you've been here for at least a few months, then yeah, you've definitely seen me do so with VIX over here. Okay. I did so over here. Called the top over here when we start seeing the spike. Okay. And then I also did the same thing over here. It said on this day right here, we have 1 to 2 more sessions of upside on the VIX. All right. And, you know, it likely would have just went up for that week and then started getting crushed. All right. Or we are going to start seeing it, you know, not spike over the next 1 to 2 sessions. And yeah, we're going to be seeing a crush. And that is what we got. We did not spike over the next 1 2 sessions. You faded. You came down to the 21. We have this is now SPY. Okay. But yeah, VIX does look like it wants to come down to a new low over here. We'll see if we end up getting it. I would not be surprised if they do take out that weekly low right there, even if it's ever so slightly. All right, that would align with what I'm seeing on the indices. I think they're likely going to pump the S&P 500, and that would align with VIX coming back down. Okay, the MAGS ETF over here is a similar look over there to SPY and QQQ. Broke out from this bull flag. Okay, you're consolidating above the 21 EMA. Now that you got back above it, the cloud has now flipped back to green. I have to assume that, yeah, bulls are, they're going to be taking this guy higher with the market. And this is just all of the Magnificent 7 stocks combined. I'm going to be going over here. I'm just going to go over a few of the names that I like. I'm going to start off with Apple here, guys. I'll hit this for anybody who killed it the last 1 to 2 days, guys. Big day, big dollar hollers, big days. Okay. Yeah, I'm just saying, Apple, when you have one of these Magnificent 7 stocks just consolidating like this, clearly as day in a bullish manner, they're just pulling back into the daily 21 as the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 pull back to the weekly 21 EMAs, get a full-on correction, okay, and this thing's holding up strong like that. You pay attention to the breakout. You definitely pay attention to the break and retest. We've been pointing out this whole time over here on this channel, okay? I started pointing out over here, they never gave you the breakout. We got the breakout all the way over here, okay? But, you know, congrats if you made money off that. Just know most of the move that we were looking for has now completed, okay? 285, that was that, you know, first target for the week. 290 is the second, all right? I do think this thing is going to be going to 290. Let me explain why. Okay, I mean, this isn't the only reason why, but I'm going to point out 12-point range you just broke out from. Take 12 points to measure move of that. Brings you just about up to 290. I do think they're going to bring you here over the coming sessions. I don't think this looks all that bad. I am just going to say I'm almost fully out of Apple. I cut most today. I think you probably should be too if you were catching this move. No financial advice will be given here, but I will gladly say what I would do to a friend. You're the friend, okay? People should be selling out of this, okay? You want the next Magnificent 7 stock that's showing a nice setup for us right now for some short-term upside. It's going to be Meta, ladies and gents. It is Meta. I told you guys as we're pulling into the 21 EMA, I was personally expecting to slightly go above it, okay? And then maybe we dance around it or consolidate it right right above it for the next few sessions before then likely going to be resuming to the upside. And the key thing when we're seeing, exactly this, you want to see the pullback, higher low pullback into a higher high. So by the time they take out that high you just put in, that's when you get the continuation most of these times. I talk about the weekly candle sometimes expanding. The setup is actually seen on the smaller time frames, okay? But on the weekly chart, when you have this right over here, this is exactly what we have right now. When you have something like that where you start the week off with a gap down, you have a lower time frame setup. In this case, the daily and the 4 hour, I'm going to showcase in a second here. This is what I talk about with the weekly candle expanding. When you have all these time frames suggesting that you are likely going to be moving in one direction, that's when you have the best moves. Okay. That's when, I like it. That's why, over here on Apple, I was just kind of waiting for this thing to go. Everything was suggesting this thing was likely going to be going. And yeah, once we got that move last week, we got the breakout. It didn't really give us the move to 285 to 290. I assumed they were probably finally going to have it happen next week because they consolidated for about a month here. And now they're breaking out the consolidation, So yeah, congrats if you made money on Apple, but the next move over the next few sessions, I'm thinking into end of week here, it's going to be on Meta, okay? So weekly, I really like what's going on there. I think we can push a little bit higher. 660, guys, that's your next resistance. That's this weekly high over here. You have the weekly 90 EMA there as well. On the daily time frame, the cloud has now flipped back to green from red over there as of today. I just want to point out the last time this actually happened. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about these times where you actually went through a corrective period here and then you flipped back red to green. Well, you got over here, you based out. So this is, really why I'm looking for that, because if you look back, most of the time you get this exact action. You reclaim the 21 and then you base out over it. You get the higher low pullback and then you push into a new high. Over here, you got the same thing. I'm thinking over the coming session, we get a pump. I'm not saying it doesn't get sold, but I do think we're going to get 660. The break of 648.04 in the short term, it looks like this thing wants to run tomorrow or the day after that. Or, if it's not tomorrow, it's going to probably just continue consolidating and then push the day after that, Thursday. All right. But it looks like it's getting tight right underneath 648.04. You already got the pullback to the 21. The cloud is now flipped from red to green. In the past, this is around the time when we should be looking for that next little drive higher there. And yeah, we got a key spot right there, 660 and above that. I'm thinking 660, 670 we could see over the coming sessions. But I just want to point out that is something that, the stock likes to do. Okay. It likes to pull back once it gets above the 21. You got back above it, you pull back and consolidate above for 2 sessions. And then you got this nice pop from it. Okay. And then you took out that high and look, that could be like us by Thursday having, 17-point move over here on Meta. I'm not saying that's going to be the case. I'm just pointing out, these are the things it likes to do. Okay. You could look, you reclaim it again. I didn't even have to look over here. I'm telling you exactly how it's going to go. Okay. You reclaim it. Okay. And you dance around it and then you get the pop. It likes to confirm. It likes to dance around it once it reclaims it. It's just something we like to see over here on Meta. So either way, Meta over here, I think that weekly candle is going to expand, and above 648.04, you have nothing until 659.33. That's the move I'm going to be looking for in the short term. Okay. Aside from that, guys, I'm just going to talk about Nvidia over here. You do, as of right now, have a bullish engulfing candlestick on the weekly. You really definitely had the bullish flow coming in today. Bulls, I'm pretty sure are starting to take the wheel again. I'm seeing it in the flow. I'm seeing it, on the charts over here. This is 4 red candles. If this happens to print the first green candle, it's a bullish engulfing candlestick. It's just showing you that bulls are stepping in. Moving forward, next week, we will expect dips to be bought and likely going to be driving it higher from there. Bulls, that is. All right. But I just want to point out that, this and Apple over here look like they're probably going to continue pushing, at least a little bit more over here on Apple. I do think we get 290, if not $300. These are the larger stocks in the stock market right now. Okay. I know Google over here was trying to, take one of their spots. It's pulling back a little bit. I'm not going to call this bearish. It honestly, to me, looks like it's just going to gap up one of these days and, just start getting a nice little move going out of this little range you got going on, this little, consolidation you got into the short-term moving averages. Regardless, I don't think anybody should be touching it. I'm not going to give financial advice in this channel, but I, again, will gladly to, share with my friends, all right, what, I would be doing. And there's no reason anybody should be touching this thing after it breaks out from all-time highs. You have 5 of these trending monthly candlesticks. It's really never been seen by GOOG. Like normally you get pullbacks, you know, every other month. This thing just doesn't want to do it. You could go back, like this is, you know, you just look at this, okay? This is, you know, going way back to Google's inception. You just don't see the action we're seeing right now. And I don't think people should be blindly buying into it up here. I think it definitely is probably going to have like a major top get put in, and it's going to cool off in a big way. Well, I think Meta is going to finally have this recovery. I was pointing it down here. It's a 30% move back to all-time highs. Well, guess what? You know, you got a good amount of that move already in the bag here, 7%. I think, you know, we're going to see Google cool off at some point, and, you know, Apple might also be cooling off. I think Nvidia is just going to resume pushing up, honestly. And I think Meta has a comeback story loading over here. But I was definitely talking about a lot last month. We don't got to talk about Meta too much. But it is, you know, top watch, in my opinion, for tomorrow. Okay, so those are the Magnificent 7 stocks I think are worth paying attention to right now. Just Meta. Apple's got a little more meat on the bone. If it happens to pull back without just pushing straight up to 290, okay, we're going to expect buys on that pullback. And yeah, I'll see if I could trade it. But, you know, as this point, you know, I really think it's worth just scaling out at this point. You know, maybe it goes $300. Probably not going to push straight to $300, but maybe it does. You don't have to catch all of it. You caught most of the move. All right. But yeah, as far as tickers, we're going to be paying attention to over the next few sessions, just showing strength right now. Okay. I'm looking for ASML. Now I'm currently already in it. All right, maybe you're already currently in it. I mentioned a few times throughout this range. I'm at least going to say on this week right here, on this week right here, and then also on this week right here. Okay, I've mentioned a few times, and now coming into this week, I was saying this is probably going to be a leader along this move back to all-time highs on SPY and QQQ. It's looking like, you know, while the market had that big correction going on, this really just built out a range, and it's breaking out of the range. Okay, let's just say it's here. Okay, we're not going to include this 1 week where you're above this. Most of the price action took place in 100, and we'll just say 110. We'll round down again, super conservative here. 110 point range. You break up from said 110 point range. Okay, and this is a conservative target. That's 1170. You're currently at 1110. I think you're going much higher over here in the short term on this name. I think it's going to have to do with a lot of these gaps. Okay, this guy loves to get its gap ups. I think I got in early on one of these things, and I'm just definitely going to say I wish I got a lot more, but yeah, you know, this is as beautiful as it gets. I can't really say anything more about it. This looks pretty beautiful. I just don't really like that monthly candle here. But if they want to bring it up to all-time highs already this early in the month, they're probably going to continue pushing it. Or you get consolidation this month, they take it up next month. And then this thing, I'm telling you, maybe even 1300 plus. Either way, ASML, I like it. In the short term, I'm talking tomorrow, ONS. Okay, ONS started getting a move off of the daily 21 today. All right, I'm thinking this thing is going to be taking out 888 in the short term. It looks like it wants to do it above 888. Okay, you're looking for 10 plus. Again, with the whole weekly candle expanding concept, that's what we're expecting over here as well. Okay, you're consolidating, you're getting tight over here. You get this nice, you know, controlled pullback into the short-term moving averages, and we could see this thing likes to just have these impulsive pushes up after having these controlled pullbacks into moving averages. Okay, so I'm expecting the same thing, and the fact that we've been dancing around the same area around these moving averages for the last, you know, really what, 3 weeks here? 1, 2, 3, yeah, 3 weeks. I'm thinking this thing is finally going to start popping off. Like, I think, you know, the larger move that I was originally trying to catch over here, I think it's about to happen and starts this week into next. Okay, that's what I'm expecting on ONS. That is ONDS. Okay, APP. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Okay, the thing is just, it's a monster. Okay, it's an animal right now. And I'm not telling anybody to buy it up here, but I just want to go over this chart real quick with you guys. Okay, 675. You take that out, there's really nothing until all-time high 745.61. And then, you know, after this, all of this, you know, again, with the controlled selling into the moving average, this is just on a weekly now. We're not talking about the daily. After this, like, guess what? It brings the next leg up. That's normally what these things lead to. So, you know, this thing might honestly go gangbuster over the next 1 to 2 weeks here, and just all of a sudden it's at like $900, and we're like, shit. It was, you know, at 650 the other day. So Yeah, I'm just saying, break and retest over here, again, it's one, I wish I just added, a lot more to. I wish, I actually, this is one I was skeptical on. I thought it was going to be range bound for the next few weeks. So I didn't size into it or anything like that, but, it kind of gave it to you on a silver platter. This is picture perfect. And, in hindsight, it's beautiful. But, I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure this ain't nothing yet. We haven't seen nothing yet here. And I'm pretty sure this thing is about to be driving it up to all-time highs and about to have that next leg up. And, from here, what you're looking for is you're either just going with the flow here and you're buying into highs. Okay. Ideally it consolidates at some point for you and you can buy in during the consolidation. But you either going to wait for that consolidation, you buy in during that, or you get the pullback in the short term, which this is that consolidation I'm talking about that you're waiting on, or you buy in right when you see it. Okay. And you pull into, and you're probably going to wick, you're probably going to be range bound for like 1 to 2 weeks right here. All right. Or maybe you consolidate and the next week you consolidate at the start of the week and then bang, you get that weekly candle expansion I'm talking about, because now you have these equal highs sitting here. And if you could pull back to start the week and then push through that high, that creates this. All right. And then all of a sudden you're pushing up to all-time highs next week. Either way, it's one that, I think people should be paying attention to right now. It's showing us that this thing wants to be a leader along this next move into highs on SPY and QQQ. Yeah. Okay. There was nothing wrong with these earnings over here. I thought it was going to be pumping us. It didn't pump us. It pulled it back, all the way back down to previous all-time high where it broke out from, weekly 21. And it's setting up in the most bullish manner, or it's set up in the most bullish manner possible. And now is telling us that it's on the verge of breaking out the new all-time highs. So pay attention to it. APP over 675. You really have nothing until 745.61. It's up to you how you want to trade it. All right. But I went over the scenarios that I'm seeing, how you can trade it. Okay. And you're just really waiting for that consolidation, or you take it on the breakout and you just got to be okay with buying highs. It's up to you how you want to take it. Okay. But that's APP. TSM. I'm looking for this. I'm thinking it's just kind of going to be gapping up over the next few sessions out of this little range you got going on. But at this point, this is a 4-day range we have right here above the daily 21 EMA. That's 4 closes above it. All right. After you were underneath it for, ever since over here. So this is, 2 to 3 weeks right there. You're spending underneath it. You get back above it. This is now 4 sessions above it. It's consolidating. It's getting tight. It looks like, on the 4 hour over here, it looks like this thing wants to move up here in the short term. So I'm going to be watching for this push. And again, that weekly candle expansion, I don't even want to say it no more. But we have the same exact look across the board. So, I'm sorry, but I'm just talking about the charts are all, a lot of these guys are looking the same. All right. And I'm just identifying some of them. TSM over here, guys, we're looking for this thing to push above 292.85, and you do have today's high. You take out today's high, 294.50, you're going. Just expect this thing's just going to start going above 294.50. You have 297.13, the $300 psych level, and then you have 302.13 above there, 307.30, and then 311.37. I think there's a solid shot. This thing kind of just pushes straight to all-time highs over the next 1 to 2 weeks. If not this week, then maybe next week. Out of this little, bull flag looking, JP got going on. Again, with the controlled selling into the moving averages, the thing is likely about to, have the impulsive buying come out of nowhere over here, okay? It's technically not out of nowhere. They told us last week, hey, pay attention to this guy. All right. But yeah, talking about what we talked about over the weekend on the weekly update. This is one of the main names we're going to be focusing on, okay? Either way, that's TSM for you, okay? Reddit, I told you, this guy likes to pull back every other day, okay? So congrats if you caught this little, initial move over there, okay? But this is now pulling back. We said we were looking for this pullback either today or tomorrow if it wasn't going to happen today. I'm still thinking this can continue pulling back tomorrow. But let's just say this thing doesn't want to pull back and it gaps up slightly and then it takes out this high around 231. Okay. At that point, you're just looking for 240. Okay. This thing is likely not going to be pulling back from that point. It's probably going to just push from there up to 240. Okay. Either way, I'm watching for a move in the short term over here. I'm not sure if that's all she wrote for this little, portion of the pullback. All right. And you just want to hit it with that next leg, or if this thing, more ideally here, it pulls back like that. We see 215-ish or so. You then come back up. By the time you take out this area, it's telling us, okay, higher low pullback is in. They likely are about to take this out, and yeah, above 231, guys, you're going 240, 250. Okay, and that's really the move I want to catch over here. Got a little piece of the pie the other day. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm gonna be watching tomorrow to see if it gives me what I want. Okay, that's Reddit, but I think this move is going to be taking place back up here over the next few weeks. I really do think 260 is probably going to be hit in the short term. If we could break back above 231, 240, 250 can happen this week. Okay. NBIZ. All right. I'm just going to say you rejected our level today at 102.69. We want to see a daily close above there. Okay. You got the daily close above the 21 EMA yesterday. Today, it's back underneath it. Now we want to see you get through the spot. Okay. You now have an equal high sitting here on this chart. We want to break it. 102.69. You do so. You're probably going straight to 110. Okay. So above 102.69, you have 109 and then 114.85. All right. That is NBIZ. Okay, guys. And that's what I have for you guys today. I'm just going to point out, you know, they're selling the data center stocks today. That is what's going on. IREN, I would say completely avoid this name over here. For the time being, this just looks pretty rough. It looks like they're probably about to break it down. And it makes me wonder what they're going to do with the other names. Cypher is the one that was really standing out here. As I did point out NBIZ over here, but, you know, Cypher is the one we pointed out in this consolidation. Same exact setup as NBIZ. It's just NBIZ rejected right here. It was either going to pop or it was not going to pop. And as we saw today, it didn't pop. Cypher was CIFR here, was leading the way and was definitely the strongest data center stock that you had out there. And it is, you know, having a pretty harsh pullback today. So I just want to point out it's right at the 21 EMA. We're going to see if you find buyers here. You want to find buyers either to, you know, tomorrow, or you want to consolidate here tomorrow and then pivot up off of that into end of week dip there. But this is the exact spot you want buyers to be stepping in and defending. We're going to see tomorrow if they do so. If not, not a good look. You have IREN over there. Maybe it's going to start dragging, you know, the whole theme down there. Okay. But, you know, there are, you know, a lot of these, you know, data center stock names that are, you know, they had, you know, moves going in the morning and they reversed them by the close. Okay. So just keep that in mind. You really just want to see them step in here. And then if they can bring it back above 19, that's what I'm going to say. We probably are about to push 21.16 again. Then you have your next leg up. Okay. It's happening end of this week into next week. That's that. I think all-time highs would be shortly after that. And this would turn into a nice long lower wick. You got to get back above 19 for that to start happening. Okay. That's going to be yesterday's low. All right. That's what I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys are having a good time out there in this market. Okay. And, you know, again, I'm just going to say when a Magnificent 7 stock sets up like this, it's time to pay attention. I hope, you know, maybe you guys paid attention over here. And the next one that, you know, I think in the short term is set up to move. All of the other ones are mediocre. You know, I could go over them here. Nvidia, you rejected the key level. We said in the weekly update, you got to get above 184.48. You got to get above it. It's a key, you know, support resistance flip spot right there. It's also right at the daily 21. You may get annoyed at how much I say the 21 EMA, but at the end of the day, it makes your job a lot easier. If you're underneath it, you expect a rejection. There's sellers in the driver's seat. You're above it, buyers in the driver's seat. You expect dips to be bought into it. And that's pretty much it. Okay. You know, buyers would be in control. Clearly the non-control over here on Nvidia. Google, I can't tell anybody that, you know, it's a good idea to belong in this thing when the weekly chart looks like this. And then again, like I was pointing out, 5 trending monthly candlesticks. At some point it cools off, and I'd just rather not be involved with telling people get bagged up here. I just don't think that's a great idea. All right, jokes. I got jokes. Microsoft, you're still underneath the 21 EMA. I think it's about to get a pop, but I told you 497.44. That really is the level you have to get back above. 492.37. That's where you broke down from. That's where you have sellers right now. But if you can get back above 497.44, you're above the daily 21. It's exactly what we were just talking about on a bunch of these freaking charts. Okay. But you know, that's Microsoft, and you got Tesla over here. It's back above the 21. I think this bounce is going to be sold. So you're probably not going to hear me talking about Tesla for the time being until I start seeing signs that they're trying to sell this thing down for the next leg. And then I'll tell you guys about it so we could play the next leg down. Amazon sold off the 238.85 to 240, 252 zone up here today. it's nothing notable. You know, this is what we were talking about. Probably was going to get the continuation, but we weren't sure if it was going to get through the 238.85 to 242.52 zone. That is where we were just expecting sellers to step in up there, okay? So none of these are notable except Nvidia. We have to see how it closes out this week, and then that's a move into next week that we can take advantage of. And then Meta right now, you know, Apple gave us the move we were looking for. I think it's time to move on from this name over here. Maybe it gets a bit more upside, but at this point, you caught most of that 12-point move. You went 10 points, okay? You don't have to be all too greedy over here. I know you're up a pretty penny. You could have played 116 calls with me, and you're up over 70%. You could play 12-19 calls, and guess what? You went about 100% today from, you know, yesterday, and you did not have to buy at the lows. You could have bought the breakout over here at 280. So I'm just saying, move on. Meta is the one to be focusing on right now, in my opinion, but I have been pounding the table on it all over here. As far as, you know, I was saying, if you're willing to sit on it, it's 30%. If you're willing to just sit on shares, the company's not going anywhere. It's a Magnificent 7 stock. It's likely going to have its time in the sun sooner or later, okay? It's likely going to be finding buyers around here. They've now started stepping in. Now, here's the short-term setup that I present to you on Meta, okay? Like the next few sessions. But yeah, that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please remember to leave a like if you did. Okay, I greatly appreciate it. Our likes kind of just dropped off a cliff. So, you know, I know it's definitely because I just kind of stopped asking for them. I don't like asking for the likes. Every time I ask them, you guys magically bring them up to like 400 or 500. But they're sitting down 200 or 300 guys. We have a lot of consistent viewers that come here and tune into the channel. I just ask that we are liking the video if you enjoy the info and you are one of those returning people, which I know there are, yeah, you know, 1,500 of you or so that are consistently, you know, 1,500, 2K that are coming back and watch these videos. So please just support the channel. I would appreciate it. If you want to come trade with me, that link is going to be down below. I'm live every day and you can come trade with me and you can be more informed on this market, okay? With that being said, guys, I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.